Hello again, my name is Christopher F. Coleman with the Business Intelligence Group. I'm a business leader, advisor, and business coach, and I help hustlers and entrepreneurs build great businesses with business planning, business strategy, and building an operation that is sustainable in the 21st century business landscape. I am a 16-year United States Army combat veteran and paratrooper, and over a decade of operational leadership experience working in Fortune 500 companies. So I know a thing or two about business planning, and business strategy. In today's video, we're going to talk about the business of urban planning. And with all of the wildfires going on out here in LA, I wanted to take time out to talk about some of the issues that happen with the business planning and how we can learn from the things that we saw. So let's go to the whiteboard and let's go into the presentation. Again, my name is Christopher Coleman, and this presentation is called The Business of Urban Planning, the Lessons of the Los Angeles Wildfires. So here's the agenda. The agenda is the first thing we're going to talk about is what do the LA wildfires and your business have in common? Number two, business planning and urban planning. We're going to see the juxtaposition of those two. Business case resource allocation, business case scalability, business case risk management. And in those three sections, we're going to talk about those functions of the business and look at some business cases that best highlight those principles. So, disclaimer, I understand the first thing that there's a lot of political undertones, but in this video, we want to understand the lessons learned. How, as business leaders, how can we learn and grow from the issues or some of the things that are happening with the LA wildfires? The next thing is, I understand that there's some political undertones. I am apolitical. It is wise to be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. Being able to understand politics without being in politics. Politicians go, they weave and flow no matter what is going on. And as a business leader, we must be rock steady. We must produce products and services continuously with the same quality and the same expectations for our customers. And then the last thing, I understand that there's a lot of information that I can get into, but I want us to get the principles of what we're talking about here in this presentation. So let's keep it moving. The LA wildfires, it's a business case and poor planning. So the current situation on the ground right now in LA concerning the wildfires, unfortunately, 28 people have lost their lives. As the recording of this video, 40,000 acres are burned. Over 16,000 structures have been destroyed. 200,000 residents have been evacuated. $250 billion with a B of damage. And the fires have not been contained. And more specifically, the Palisades fires are about 68% contained. Eaton fires is about 91% contained. And then just yesterday, the Hughes fire has prompted more evacuations. So a still daunting scene in LA. Some more information, there's other countries like Canada, Mexico have been helping. Canadian, they have these scoopers that come in the ocean, pick up water and drop it. Firefighters from other cities and other states, as far as Washington, have come down to help with some of the fires, as well as prisoners are helping out with some of the fires as well. So let's continue.
So we're out of Washington, Sky Valley Fire, Snohomish County, District 26. We got the call, I want to say Tuesday night, to come down here. So we got on the road right away and started trekking down here. And then we just got out on the line today. So this is our first spot.
So some of the key points here is that the LA Fire Department, their budget was cut almost $18 million. And some of the political undertones is that the money was pushed into other non-fire department related or emergency related programs. Infrastructure failures, there were fire hydrants that did not work. There was reservoirs that were empty. Millions of gallons of water that could have been in one of these reservoirs was completely empty for a very foolish reason. I think there was a rip in one of the covers, so they didn't want bird droppings to drop into the water, so they shut it down. And so this reservoir is water, it's potable water for people to drink, but for cover, as a contingency, fire departments use that. And so why was that water not available in that reservoir? Leadership gaps. The mayor, she was out of the country during the time of the fires, and reports showed before she went that there were going to be concerns. And so there was a lack of C2 in the military. It's C2 shorthand for command and control. So she was not in place to command and control the resources needed to put trucks stationed in different areas, to have firefighters on standby from other countries or various resources. There were, going back to the budgets, there were 100 fire trucks that were down, that was inoperable in the maintenance shop. So there was a lot of issues here. And so from this, we're going to understand these key points and apply it to our businesses.
Defending the mayor of Los Angeles, who was in Ghana when these fires broke, by arguing, how was she supposed to know? Well, I'll tell you how she's supposed to know. Thursday, January 2, the National Weather Service warned about, quote, extreme fire conditions, close quote, over the next week in the Los Angeles area. Thursday, January 2, Jonathan O'Brien, a meteorologist with the U.S. Forest Service, spoke to officials and posted openly about the incoming threat, according to Breitbart. Same day, Thursday, January 2, O'Brien noted that weather models for Southern California showed a strong, extreme Santa Ana wind event starting Tuesday, January 7. Friday, January 3, Rose Schoenfeld, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Los Angeles office, gave a briefing that warned that lack of rain this winter season, coupled with forecasted strong wind, posed an imminent threat, end of quote. Saturday, January 4, quote, fire weather watches and high wind watches are in effect Tuesday through Friday next week, warned the Los Angeles National Weather Service. Saturday, January 4, same day, Karen Bass goes off to Africa to attend the inauguration of Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama. Monday, January 6, Gavin Newsom begins, quote, emergency preparations for the expected fire danger because he expected that brutal winds would create wildfires and additional firefighting resources, choppers, personnel were sent to Southern California. Monday, January 6th, Bass remains in Ghana. Monday, January 6th, Los Angeles Times warns of, quote, unusual, life-threatening, and destructive winds bring risk of winter fires, power outages to Southern California, end of quote. Monday, January 6th, same day, Bass remains in Africa. Monday, January 6th, the National Weather Service heads up a life-threatening, destructive, widespread windstorm is expected Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday morning across much of Ventura, Los Angeles County, end of quote. Same day, Monday, January 6th, Karen Bass remains in Africa. Tuesday, January 7th, Los Angeles hit with multiple deadly fires, thousands of homes and businesses burn, tens of thousands are forced to evacuate, fire hydrants run out of water, which was denied, by the way, by a local morning news anchor. More on that in just a second. Fire hydrants run out of water. Same day, Tuesday, January 7, Karen Bass remains in Ghana. Following day, Wednesday, January 8, Wildfires worsen. Huge swaths of Los Angeles look like they've been hit by a nuclear bomb. The city lacks manpower, water, more evacuations, more fires. Same day, Wednesday, January 8th, Mayor Bass finally shows up around noon and refuses to answer questions. We played that before. Let's play it again. Number one.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
So here's the budget over the years, starting in 2018, 2019. $650 million is the budget. The orange is the budget. The red is the actual expense. And so this is probably 690 million where the expenses. So we're talking about 30 to 40 million dollar gap between the budget and expenses, and that's been the case all the way up through the years. And 2020, 2021, of course, the expenses go up based off the budget, but traditionally the trend is that they spent more than their budget, so they actually have always needed more, and it's just a brink. They're always been on the brink of catastrophe because they needed more resources. And here in 2023, 2024, going into 2025, you see the budget was cut, but the expenses continually go up.
Did Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
Was your budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025 cut?
I can tell you, I'm going to even go back further than that. Again, since day one, we've identified huge gaps in regard to our service delivery and our ability from our firefighters, boots on the ground, to do their jobs. Since day one, this is my third budget as we're going into 25-26. What I can tell you is we are still understaffed, we're still under-resourced, and we're still underfunded. So with that, whether it's 7 million, 10 million.
But was the budget cut, Chief?
Yes, it was cut, and it did impact our ability to provide service.
So business lesson number one, we're going to talk about resource allocation. Where does the resources go? The labor, the money, whatever resources that you need to produce the good of service that makes you profitable in the business that you're in. This is what we're talking about, how to responsibly and effectively allocate those resources. So the first concept in terms of allocating resources, urban planners, they utilize zone resource uses to allocate land for specific uses. Here in the United States, we have industrial zones, commercial zones, industrial zones, and in businesses, how do we allocate the resources that we have? Resources like your time, money, and talent to maximize the impact in your business. So business case number one, let's talk about Kodak. So what happened? Well, Kodak invented the first digital camera, but chose to focus its resources on film. Fearing it would cannibalize its core business, this misallocation of resources led to its downfall when digital photography took over. Now, there was an engineer back in the 70s. I think the first digital camera was invented in 1975. He was an engineer that worked for Kodak. He came to leadership and they said, no, we do not want to pursue this at all because it will destroy our film business, which is the core business of Kodak at that time.
I came to Kodak in 1973, and I was working in a small research laboratory in the apparatus division back then. And I was in an electronics group, and there was a very small project that my supervisor Gareth Lloyd came to me in 1974 and suggested that I had a choice actually between two projects. One was to do I remember this. I remember the conversation actually like it was yesterday. He said there's two projects, real small ones. One was to look at the exposure controls for XL movie cameras, and the other was to look at the imaging performance of these new type of devices called charge-coupled device imagers.
Well, over the years, the 80s and 90s, other companies like Sony began to develop digital cameras, and there was a market shift that Kodak was late to the party for. And as a result, these other companies grabbed market share. They were the face of digital photography, and Kodak was known for an outdated system of photography and film, and thus they went bankrupt. They lost millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and who knows where they are today. What is the insight? Well, like a city that misallocates funds, i.e. fire departments, Kodak's poor resource zoning left them unprepared for a major market shift. So what is the actual step? I want you to really analyze and take a look at how your resources are allocated. I don't want you to get stuck in just investing in what worked in the past or even working now. I want you to take a look at the future and how you can allocate resources that keeps you sustainable and thriving into the future. Business lesson number 2, scalable systems. So in this concept, when you talk about urban planning, part of urban planning is enabling the city to grow in a way that the infrastructure like sewage, water system, garbage, power lines are growing and expanding in relationship to the population. And so in your business, you want to have systems and processes that scale and grow as your business grows. If you don't, your operation will fall apart because it cannot sustain the growth that is coming in. It's all about the inputs that are coming in and developing a system to bring in those inputs, build it up through this process of system, whatever your value that you bring to the marketplace, whatever that is, you have to build this process, this system, this operation to grab all of these inputs to spit out the outputs or the value or the end product or the deliverables for your customers. So Amazon is a great case. So let's talk about what happened. Well, Amazon built scalable logistics and fulfillment centers to handle increasing demand. By investing in infrastructure early, it was able to grow rapidly without major disruptions. What is the insight here? Well, Amazon's investment in scalable systems allowed them to meet customer demand even during unexpected surges like the COVID-19 pandemic. I used to work for Amazon. It's very data driven. They have so much money. Money was not an issue for operations managers and leaders to have projects to bring value to the company. And one of my favorite leadership terms that they have, or leadership principles, was disagree and commit. There was a lot of smart people from around the world that I worked with, from England, parts of Asia, and there was a lot of ideas. And maybe one person had an idea to increase the speed of sorting. And this idea of disagreeing but committing was brilliant because there's a lot of ways that you can bring value to the operation, but you disagree to X, Y, and Z, but as a leader, this is where everybody else wants to go and you commit. That's just a little tidbit, but I really enjoyed the leadership principles at Amazon. But you see, there's always a sense to constantly improve. And so they are always sourcing the right talent, the best talent around the world to come in to keep their operation sustainable and thriving and robust enough so that they can continue bringing value to the marketplace.
March, Amazon announced its reportable incident rate last year was 6.5 cases per 100 workers, down from 6.9 cases in 2022. Here, Sparrow is taking on a repetitive motion job. Amazon says having robots do this work is part of its pledge to reduce injuries. So in other warehouses that don't have Sparrow, people are doing this job.
People can do this job, but this is a menial, mundane, repetitive job. We'd rather have our people do other things inside of our building.
Through Amazon's upskilling program, people who used to do manual labor jobs are now moving into jobs overseeing, repairing, and programming these machines. Amazon says these roles can offer pay that's up to 40% higher than entry-level jobs. Once the items are sorted, they head here to Sequoia, where humans and robots work together.
The goods are coming to the person on demand at just the right time, and we designed the system in order to be ergonomic for our people, right?
Yeah. So he's not bending down, he's not reaching
Exactly.
up.
There's no ladders to reach up. He's not bending down on his knees, right? It's in the Goldilocks zone or the power zone.
Brady says the best packaging is no packaging. He says Amazon's eliminated more than 130 million plastic bags by replacing them with paper or even skipping packaging. So if something already comes in its own box or packaging that's safe to ship,
That's
you
right.
don't need to add more packaging.
That's right.
This is Proteus. As you can see, it's carrying a bunch of Amazon items ready for delivery, and it has little eyes on its face, and it can sense when we're close to it, it'll chirp and stop when it notices people are in the way. Please, carry on. It looks like a Roomba on steroids, but these robots work on the floor, and when there aren't enough of them, human workers push and pull those heavy carts. Brady says the future will never be fully automated because people need to design and program the robots and keep them running.
So what is the actionable tip here? Well, ensure your systems, your operations, supply chains, your customer service can handle the growth and change. Don't wait for a crisis to reveal cracks in your infrastructure. As a leader, as an operations leader, I'm constantly trying to figure out where are the chinks in the chain. How can I stress out the operation so I can find it and I can make it better? And so there is a book called The Goal. Here it is. So The Goal, this is by Eliyahu Goldratt, and it's all about the theory of constraints. And so the theory of constraints is simply what is the part of your operations that prevents you from going faster. And so in operations, this is called theory of constraints. You can apply it to different ways, but I think every business leader, operations leader needs to read this book about the theory of constraints. It's called The Goal. It's a must read. It's a business classic. So let's move on. Business lesson number 3, contingency planning. The concept here is that cities, they create emergency plans for natural disasters. And businesses, what contingency plans, what do they mean to you? How do you prepare for market shifts, supply chain disruptions, and unexpected crises? I remember reading a case study about Red Lobster and how they only had one supplier for shrimp. Many organizations, they have one supplier because of the cost. If you get all of your supplies or your supplier needs, your needs from suppliers from one source, you get better pricing, you get better deals. But it's not right or wrong, but the trade-off is if that supplier fails, your whole operation fails. So that's a risk that you're willing to take. And Red Lobster, they had this deal, all you can eat shrimp, and they ran out of shrimp because their supplier couldn't provide them the shrimp. And so they lost a lot of credibility and expectation, and they went bankrupt. They had to change CEOs. They have a new CEO that's there now, seems to be a very intelligent young man. I'm rooting for him. Would love to meet him one day if he ever sees this video.
The greatest comeback in the history of the restaurant industry.
This is Damola Adamolican,
Let's do it.
Red Lobster's new CEO. After decades of declining sales and a promotion that was a little too popular,
Ultimate Endless Shrimp is here with a limited time flavor drop.
the 35-year-old was hired by private equity firm Fortress to lead Red Lobster out of
bankruptcy,
more than $1 billion in debt, a serious financial pinch,
and back to profitability. It's worked before. He revitalized P.F. Chang's during COVID. Fortress hopes he can do the same for America's oldest seafood chain. I spoke to the new CEO at a Red Lobster in Orlando to learn what it will take to save the chain from sinking.
But let's talk about some of the examples. So Singapore they have an issue with the urban heat island effect. So it's a country that's really close to the equator. They have a lot of extreme heat days. And because of so many people and buildings, there's a lot of heat. It's just hotter than what it would be if it wasn't. And so what do? They have sustainable infrastructure. Singapore has buildings with parks on top of the roofs. There's greenery growing on the side of skyscrapers. There's parks everywhere with shade and flowers. So as a result, they have cleaner air and a lower temperature.
Smart technology to optimize building design, the HDB is also doubling down on greenery. Vegetation can reduce air temperature as well as provide shade. For decades, it has been a key tool in the city's fight to keep temperatures down. Already known as the Garden City, Singapore still plans to plant 1 million more trees by 2030. For Tengah, the goal was to create an evergreen forest town by using biophilic design, a concept that was tested in Punggol.
So the Netherlands, the majority of the Netherlands is below sea level. And so as a result of the risk of being flooded very fast, they have advanced flood control infrastructures. New York City, they're at high risk of hurricanes, been on the East Coast, and rising sea levels. So they have the state-of-the-art drain system. Tokyo, they're at risk of earthquakes, so they have shock absorbing infrastructure. Now, when you look at LA, there's risk of fires and wind. Those two combined together means disaster. Now, some of the statistics I've read is that majority of the fires are started because of humans. Now, what can LA do to prevent some of the wildfires, to prevent or to decrease the number of man-made fires so it prevents a wildfire from growing and getting out of control like it is currently happening now? So what can we do? What can we do? Put what you think we should do in the comments below. So Southwest Airlines is a great business case to really understand risk mitigation. What can we do to mitigate the risk? We have a business model that our costs, the tickets are lower. How do we keep the price down and create a business strategy that is different from other airlines? How do we keep our price down? And that's the whole niche of what we do. And that's the substance and the difference that keeps us different from other airlines is that we are low price. In the early 2000s, there was a lot of price fluctuations with fuel. And that is the key to their business model in terms of, you know, the price structure of what they can charge. If they're known for low ticket prices, if fuel surges, how could they keep those low prices? Well, if the prices go up, they've lost the expectation. They've lost what they do best in terms of offering low prices. So what happened? Well, Southwest Airlines uses fuel hedging as a financial contingency plan to protect against rising fuel costs. This strategy has allowed the airline to maintain stable pricing even during fuel price spikes. The insight here, well, just like a city needs a backup plan for water shortages, businesses need contingency plans to weather financial storms. And so Southwest Airlines in the 2000s, they began to work out price insurance. This is what, you know, fuel hedging is. It's like price insurance, meaning if we'll pay, let's say $4 a gallon for fuel for this period of time, and they will pay, you know, some institution, a bank, whatever the case may be, and they're locked in at that price. And so if prices go up $5, well, they are saving $1 per gallon. But if it goes below, well, they're paying more. But the concern here, or the crux of the principle, is that they understand what their cost is no matter what. And so if the price rises or lowers, they are okay with a steady price, and they know what the price is going to be for that time period. And so they utilize price hedging. That is a very intelligent way to conduct business for their unique business model. And this is the thing about business strategy. I love the topic of business strategy. Please look at my videos on what I think business strategy is, my ideology on business strategy. But their business strategy allowed them to have certain tactics that were in line with their overall focus where to play and how to win, other airlines may try to copy the various activities, and that's what they see on the surface level, but below there's a whole operation that is bolstering their differences of how they play in the marketplace. What is different about Southwest than other airlines is what their whole model is about. And their model is about providing low airfare for mostly travelers instead of business class and first class. There's a lot of activities that they've eliminated because it doesn't go to their main core customer focus. And so as a result, they have all these activities that are in line with that. Other organizations try to copy it, but with no avail, because the strategy for them, for other airlines, is different from Southwest. So I really love the concept and the principles of business strategy, and I really love the business case of Southwest Airlines. So what is the actionable tip here? Well, I want you to identify your top risks and create contingency plans to mitigate them. Whether it's financial, operational, or market-based, always have a backup plan. And so the key here is to really understand your business, the nuances, and understanding your business strategy. What makes you different? What is the crux of what you do that differs from everybody else in the market? And that, whatever that thing is, you want to protect it. You want to have contingency plans around that thing. Let's move on. All right, let's talk about my final reflection. I believe that the planning for emergencies, specifically around the fires, have been a disaster. I believe that the politics around it is unfortunate, but I do believe that leaders should be held accountable and responsible.
Yeah, so if you think about things that are predictable, unpredictable, crises, right? If you're a military leader, your job is to sit there and say, what are some predictable attacks that we could get from the enemy?
Yeah.
Well, it's from that flank, from that mountain, from this, from that, whatever. Okay, great. So you write down the predictable attacks. Then the unpredictable attacks, some things that maybe come from behind us, maybe on the inside, maybe you turn one of our main guys against us, maybe you get a spy to come in, maybe it's a late at night while we're asleep. Your job is to think about predictable attacks and unpredictable attacks, right? In every business and every job, leaders are supposed to think that way. So let's look at Florida, okay? The great state of Florida, which I reside in right now. I lived 5 years in Texas, and I've been 4 years now in Florida. In Texas, the weather gets cold. So when it does get cold, pipes explode. And when it does explode, you could go a week or 2 weeks without any power, water. It can be a very bad situation. Tornadoes can hit, and that's Mother Nature. That's not an attack someone's hitting you. If you go to Florida, we have hurricanes. Tampa got hit twice in a span of 9 days, and you watch the speed of reaction of the leader at the top of someone like DeSantis. Something happens, bridge is destroyed, you read about it, in 3 days it is rebuilt. That is a sign of a leader. A lot of the stuff that happens in the state of Florida, it's unpredictable when the hurricane hits. You can't sit there and say, well, there's a hurricane that's coming up, and here's what we need to do. No, you don't get to decide that. It's just every year, September, October, November, it's the prime season a hurricane that takes place. Go to California. How long has California been having fires? Yeah. I can't tell you how many times when I drive up 405, you're like, oh, it's all black. What does that mean? We just overcame a fire.
Yeah.
I've driven through 405 where there's fire, and you're thinking to yourself, you're going up to the valley this way, I'm going north, and you look behind you, you see the water. So the ocean is this way, you're going to the valley, beautiful area when it's green, it just looks like out of a movie how beautiful it is. If you know a part of this is predictable, where 95% of the fires in the state of California are man-made. Let me say that one more time. 95% of the fires, this is according to PBS when they had a study done and they reported on it, 95% is based on somebody does something with it, right? It isn't that is a, Mother Nature. Now, don't get me wrong. The wind, 70-mile-an-hour winds, of course, you can't control that. That's the other side. You got to be thinking about what you can do on the unpredictable side. One, what do we do with the fine? What do we do with the people that do this that get caught? What do we do with getting everybody involved? There's a video that went viral where somebody's catching another guy was trying to get a place to be on fire. He's cornering him, getting everybody to be behind it. can we create an example of somebody? An example's got to be made to say, if you get caught doing X, Y, Z, this is the sentence that you're going to get. And we're not forgiving this. $150 billion, you got to make an example of somebody. That's number one. Then on the other side is when you're living in the state of California, if you and I were to say the profile of a startup entrepreneur that builds a billion-dollar company from zero to billion, that's a very hard thing to do. But if we were to say, where is the capital in America that has the most people that are professional problem solvers? These are engineers that they sit in a room, they grab a marker and they say, hey, Pierce, let's start a business. Let's think about all these industries, automotive, technology, retail, fast food. Here's a problem. How do we solve it? What if we do this? Great, let's go build it. Let's go raise $100 million, Sequoia Capital. Now we got a $1.8 billion company. Why not get those people in the room and get them involved to say, hey, guys, you guys are problem solvers. Get 20 of them. What can we do to address this? And show them, do what Trump does. Trump's having meetings at Mar-a-Lago. Who has he had meetings with? I don't see any pictures of Newsom sitting down with other people. Why don't you replicate what Trump is doing? Newsom, first Trump gets Trudeau comes in, Bezos comes in, Zuck comes in, Musk comes in. Every one of the problem solvers going to Mar-a-Lago. What is Newsom doing? Is he following his lead? Why don't you show us some videos with some of the brightest minds in California sitting down with you instead of just giving us lip service? I'm talking to everybody. I'm talking to local leaders. I'm talking to business owners. Show it to us. Document us. Tell us what you're doing, because you have access to those resources, but unfortunately, he's just not using it.
That this should have, one, this should have never happened. And then two, the mayor should have been there to have command and control of the situation. There should have been contingency plans set up. If trucks were set up in different areas before the fires hit, they were able to stop it before it spread. They could have ensured, if people have drones, how do we keep drones out of the air so planes can fly? What is the plan for that? We can't just wait to get drones are out of the air until we can start flying our airplanes to draw water. So what are we going to do about that? And these are the things where the mayor should have been available to control and direct the resources and allocate the resources while she was on the ground, as well as understanding that the fire chief has said that we don't have everything we need. With these budget cuts, it's hurt us, and we can't do our core functional job. And so there's a lot of things that could be done. But my heart, my prayers, my thoughts go to all of those affected in LA. And I have family out there who have been affected, have friends that are out there who have been affected. And I am, as a leader, you want to do everything in your power to ensure those that you love and care about are good to go. And the buck stops with me. The buck stops with the leader in the organization. And you have to do everything beforehand to ensure when catastrophe begins to hit that you can execute. I often say a lot of times great leadership is about solving problems before it becomes a problem. People might think you're crazy. People might think you're disillusioned. But as a leader, you see things that other people don't see because you're high up in the trees and you're looking at the future. You're looking, you have a vision. But as a leader, you see that everybody else doesn't see that. And so you have to be strong enough and have the intestinal fortitude enough to go out to the work floor, to your colleagues, to the various functions to get things in order so catastrophe doesn't destroy your business. So call to action. I want you to evaluate your business plan today. I want you to ask yourself these things. Are my resources zoned correctly? This is resource allocation. Are my systems scalable? Do I have a contingency plan in place for when things go wrong? I'm a business coach, a business leader. I've been in many different organizations and different industries. As an operations leader, I've been an engineer, I've been in quality. And so I've seen it all. I've been in companies where we had a lot of money, and so we can do any kind of project. I've been in companies who were on the verge of bankrupt. I've been in startups. I've helped so many different organizations in very different fields. But the key here is to understand what your business is. And the only way to do that is the business plan. Take the time out to think. My business is called the Business Intelligence Group because it's about thinking. It's about the ability to think. It's not how smart you are. It's about thinking about your products, your services, what you bring to the marketplace. Business is an intellectual sport. And so as an intellectual sport, you have to think. So closing remarks here. I want to keep updated with all the things that are going on in the LA fires. Again, my hearts, my thoughts, my prayers go out to them. I hope there's a change in the future. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos about the business of planning, the business of dependency, the business of government and politics, please subscribe to the channel. If you have any ideas of things you want me to talk about, I want you to put it in the comment section below. I'll read those, I'll consider those, and I'll make videos especially for you. Again, my name is Christopher F. Coleman with the Business Intelligence Group. I'm a business leader, coach, and advisor. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Peace.